Starting stream, here we go. Okay, here's how this works. I said day one, 10% of your grade is notes and assignments. They are completion only. The stuff we did in class, did you do it? Did you write it down? The homework should be small. Was that small enough? Okay, expect that as typical. Now, it's going to change as complexity changes, but if it's taking you a half hour or more to do my homework, something's wrong. Either you're just not prepared for it, you weren't paying attention, I didn't say it right, I made the assignment too long, whatever it is. I need you to tell me, okay? The other 10% of daily formative assessment is daily quiz. What I would like you to do is wherever you have your homework, whether that's loose leaf in a binder, whether that's a notebook, with your homework, every day you're going to come in after we've completed a lesson, so it's not every day of class, but you're going to come in and do a daily quiz. It's going to be one or two middle of the road C-level problems. I literally look in our book next to this example, I write down the additional example that's in the teacher's edition. Like it's the same thing, just different numbers, okay? So every day you're going to come in and do a daily quiz. Make sure you're labeling them like that. I don't want to have to hunt through your chicken scratch. So the perfect way to do it is, here's my homework, there's my daily quiz. Here's my homework, there's my daily quiz. If you just have it organized like that, perfect. Or whatever your system is. I just don't want to be hunting through a binder full of, some of you, your binders and your backpacks, it's the ungodly love child between a dumpster, a trash compactor, and a black hole. Please don't turn that in. Okay? As long as it's organized, we're good. Someone got a pump? That's what it sounded like. Insulin pump? Oh. Okay. So, wherever you're going to do it, try to keep it somewhere with your homework. Label 1-3 expressions, because that was the lesson we did. Do these two problems. Open notes, open book, open resource, open everything except mouths. I want to know what you know, not what your neighbor knows. Okay? Open up your notes, open up your books. Do these two. Write it down. And then I will go through the problems and how we score them after we're done. Yes? We will get to those after this. Now, that brings up a good point. If there's ever one of those days where you didn't do the homework, you didn't even think of it, you were out of it yesterday, I don't know, your girlfriend broke up with you, you were stoned out of your mind, whatever it was, if you just aren't ready to do a daily quiz or a quiz, you just got to say so, okay? Just tell me. I am not ready for this because I have no idea what's going on. I will see you after school to make sure that I get this. One of the above?
Correct. I didn't do the homework.
Okay. Do you feel confident to do these just from what we did in class yesterday?
Yeah.
Then do them anyway.
Okay. Wait, did you send the homework online?
Yes, I did.
What if I'm not really like in the shower and got my phone taken away?
Good thing there's a feed of it on our class page, right next to plan book. Your assignments, along with the link to the in-class video, will be in at least 3 different locations every day. Yes, sir? It is division. Y'all hurting me. Feel that pain deep in my soul. Open every resource except your neighbors and Slater. I don't care. Stay on the bench, dude. Okay. I kind of got my laps I do around the room. I know most of you carry your entire life around with you in your bag because you refuse to use the locker. Just make sure it's out of the aisles because I am incredibly uncoordinated. I'm bad enough on my own feet, much less with obstacles. Don't want to trip and you know, you accidentally graze up on something you just didn't want to. End up on CNN because someone took it personally. We don't need that in this house. Okay, generally these should be quick. 5, 10 minutes tops. If it's taking you longer than that, odds are you just don't know how to do it. These should be short, quick. Now this time, we have to have a little preamble for it. When you come in on Monday, it should be sit down, daily quizzes up there waiting for you, get to it. Because by the time I'm done with attendance and whatever email just came through and that kind of stuff, I should be able to stand up and here we go. Okay? So, should be fairly quick. These aren't supposed to be brain busters. Just, hey, this is what we did yesterday. You get it? Is anyone still working? Okay. We've got a couple going. I got to ask because sometimes it's difficult to tell the difference between someone who's just doodling, copying their neighbor's homework, versus actually working on this. Okay? Don't copy someone else's work. It doesn't help you the least bit. I didn't again. Also, randomly for everyone who's ever is viewing the videos, something I did not know about myself until last year. Um, I mutter a lot quietly to myself, random earworm songs that stuck in your head, repeating phrases, anything like that. Um, Apparently, I do that and I didn't know, which is fine. It's called echolalia. It's when you repeat something over and over and over and over, like a certain phrase. When you got this going on, apparently it shows up quite well on the videos. So if you're ever trying to watch the video and you just hear me like randomly talking to myself or singing along with lyrics that are not school appropriate, just kind of gloss over that. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't even know I did that until last year, and kids were telling me because of the videos. So, um, oops. Well, good. Okay. So, for less than. As soon as I hear for less than, what operation am I doing? And for less than goes at the end. For less than tells me I'm going to have something minus 4. Less than, greater than, more than. Then tells me to put it at the end. If I say, she is taller than you. Actually, probably not. Oh, no, you're probably close, right? All right. You take one person's height and subtract the other, right? This means it goes at the end. Next, when I hear the quotient of, that tells me I am about to divide two things. Those two things will have an and in between them. So I set up a division, and the two things that will be divided are separated with the and. Ta-da. That's it. It does have to be in that order. When they say the quotient of, the product of, the sum of, the difference of, they tell you it in the order you encounter it. So when I say the quotient of a number and 9, that is different than the quotient of 9 and a number. Get what I mean? One is n over 9, the other is 9 over n. So, next up, simplify. If I'm going to simplify this big honking mess, what do I got to do before looking for like terms? Don't worry about points. We'll deal with that next. Step 1, disturber. Y'all ever watch like old Muppets? Are Muppets still a thing? No? Oh, okay. I'll call that 3x squared y plus 2x. What am I distributing? A negative 4. So either I'm going to have to distribute a 4 and then remember to subtract everything, or I can just distribute a negative 4 and then add like terms. So I'm going to say minus 20y minus 4x plus 8x squared y. Then within there, I'm looking for, every time I run into a plus or minus, it's a new term. Which of those terms go together? Okay, x squared y's have same exponents, same variables, same exponents on the same variables. 8 things plus 3 things is 11 things. But thing does not change. I can't say I have 3 students in this class plus 8 students in that class. That means there's 11 students in his class. Like, you can't change the thing. Okay, I usually do this just to make sure I don't accidentally use them again. I see a 2x and a negative 4x go together, so minus 2x And what do we do with the lonely cheese over here? Throw them at the end. Okay. Then I said that you are also going to score these on your own. Meaning, I run through how the points are going to go. You put the score next to it. Be honest. It does you zero good. In fact, it might be detrimental to BS these. Okay? Don't say I got a 4 or a 5 every single day when you obviously didn't. Don't not do this and then just copy what I wrote. Because when it comes time for the actual assessment, that discrepancy of I'm getting 90s versus I'm getting 60s is an awkward conversation to have with your folks. This is also gut check moment. When your parents say, well, you haven't put in grades for 3 weeks, I don't know how they're doing. They know how they're doing. You know how you're doing because every day we're going to do this. Every day you know how you're doing. If you're getting 2s and 3s, you know something's wrong. If you're getting 3s and 4s, you know you're doing okay. You should probably ask some questions though. If you're getting 4s and 5s, you're good. You know how you're doing. So it's always going to be something out of 5. And you're going to box it in, circle it, whatever, so I can find it easy. What we're going to do is I'm going to say 2 points for this, meaning did you distribute correctly and then combine the like terms correctly? I'm going to say 2 points for this, did you have a quotient? Did you put the 4 at the end? And then I'm going to leave 1 as kind of a floater for I did this one little thing wrong. I swapped the n and the 9. I forgot my squared down here. I said that 2 minus 4 is 6. The little thing, like I did the procedures right, I just did the goof. Okay? So those are your 5 points. 2 for each problem, 1 as a floater for the tiny little goof. And then next to it, you put whatever you got out of 5, circle it, box it, something so I can find it. Because in a couple of days, we do a review and quiz in class. On that day, when you're done with your quiz, and it's all super fast, like you finish it in class, you go home with no homework. On a review and quiz day, you'll throw your quiz in a little basket. You'll take your packet of notes, you'll take your folder or notebook or binder, whatever you have your stuff in that is organized and I can find it. You set them on the counter. I go through and I just check off. You did the notes, did the notes, did the notes, did the notes. Have the homework, have the homework. Okay, this homework is a 3 out of 5 because you didn't do any of your graphs. Go through all of your daily quizzes and I just write down your scores. Okay? And then you pick them up. That's it. That's how we do daily assessment here. Super low stress. So, after we go through that, oh, you must. We'll be that way, huh? All right. Y'all know. Go to the book. Go poke the puzzle piece for your extensions. Go to your Clever. Down to your Savas Easy Bridge. Your hemorrhoid medication. Come on, Frank. Let's go, Frank. Did I do the Frank thing yesterday? Y'all know why it's Frank? I named my smartboard Frank because many moons ago I had a student in my class named Frank. Frank was a senior in pre-algebra for the 4th year running. Needless to say, Frank was not the most intelligent or cooperative person. Henceforth, my smartboard shall be known as Frank, because it is neither smart nor cooperative. So, really? Okay, did you have any questions on the homework? My book's being dumb, okay? Does anything from the homework, okay? Here's how it goes. The solutions are online. I'm not going to come up here and show you the answers and then ask if you got questions. You know where the answers are. I want you using them. I want you checking to make sure that you did it right. I don't want you copying it to just make it look like you did your homework, because that doesn't do you any good. I want you checking. I want you using solutions. I want you to make sure that you're right. And then, if you got questions, I want you asking. You can pop in the morning. Just a quick, like 5-10 minutes. Hey, I couldn't do these last night. I didn't want to text or anything like that. Can I just go through 2 of these with you? Cool. Better is to ask on remind. And I did have a couple of kids already last night lighting it up. Just here come all the screenshots of their book. That's another thing. Don't just say, how do I do number 30? That does nothing for me. I'm nowhere near a book. But if you take a picture of the problem and say, how do I do number 30? Then the next time that I have a free hand, I'm not being attacked by a goblin, and I'm conscious, I'm going to answer. Okay? My children, 2 and 4. We call them goblins because... Dang, dude, shouldn't you be like working for the money or something? Support that family? Oh, okay. You said you have a 2 and 4-year-old at home. I'm like, hey, I mean, get your education. That's great, but priorities. Okay, so like no joke. If you just send the picture to me, odds are I can just scribble on it and send it back to you. Okay. So I want you asking those questions. So I'm only going to open it up for questions for like maybe 5-10 minutes at the beginning class. I'm going to do our daily quiz. I'm going to see if we got questions. I want you to ask them. It should not take much courage in class to say 26. Yeah, I can. I'm going to steal your book because Frank is being dumb and a half. You said 47? 47. Okay. I mean, whether it's a problem that we were supposed to do like in the every fourth or not, doesn't matter. It's still something that we didn't know how to do or we were fuzzy on, so we're still going to go through it. Okay, step 1. I'm going to turn this into 1/2 x squared. And that was one of our last examples yesterday, right? Because there's a little invisible one right here. Just yank the coefficient out front. Plus 2x squared minus x. Now, well, 1x minus an x, gone. Now I have half an x squared plus 2x squareds. That's 2.5 or 5/2 x squared. Ta-da. Okay. If you do that, right? If you remember that. It might just be a while since we've seen things written like that. What else? Going once? Going twice? Sold to the hobo in the broken overalls. Anyone? No? I live in Disney hell. We watch so much Disney. Yes, Wreck-It Ralph #2. All right, argue time. Figure it out. Just legit. Argue with your neighbors. Figure this out. I gotta use the bathroom. You figure it out. I'll be back. Who's responsible? Who's actually no? Who's actually responsible?
Probably Brian.
You know, no. I'm gonna say Bailey because you had to deal with it. If you dealt with your sister, you're probably fairly balanced. So Bailey's a joke.
The big one is oh, I understand. It's like it's only on the string. Does that make sense? Like it's like a balancing thing. So that one chip on the left pulls the two blue triangles plus the dark blue on the right. And until it's 40. Yeah, so I get it. Oh yeah. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Oh, and then subtract the color, so oh, yeah, that's two. That you saw the medium one's two. Yeah, all triangles.
We're doing daily. Hi, what is that? Rebound.
The one on the left is so short.
Oh, it's a car. No. What's it called? Oh yeah, smack. That's like a thing. I got $7. I can change.
I'll buy you some. There's water coming down our. Yeah, it's a casual.
Damn, that sucks.
I'll buy you some another one. Water's just in there. There's a water coming. I need a bottle. From the small water. I'm giving that audio.
Even the big.
I
Oh, we do. So if you add the
Let's just
together,
eat.
you have to subtract.
Four.
We should have like that many ounces. So that means it's 26 ounces to the sheet divided by 2 sides of the sheet. Like the big ones work, and the little ones add up. But that's on the other side.
Because this would be 4, so this one's 3.
Yeah,
Oh,
each side adds to the so if we
10.
that's
Yeah, this got it.
Why over 2?
I love the amount of discussion. This is great.
What is it? Oh, you did the justify your reasoning.
What's 8 plus 4 plus 4? I don't want answers.
No, they're not in.
What, that is literally answered.
You say might be wrong, is that all? I think we got it.
That is literally.
Let's find out. Okay. It says the entire thing is 40 ounces. The idea behind using a mobile like this, and this is prior knowledge that they're just kind of expecting of you, is you understand that a mobile, if you've ever made one, balances, right? Never made one, never had one, didn't have one above a crib, like you you never made one of these in elementary school? Like you'd put like pictures or something on there, a little jingle jangles done. Okay. Yeah, maybe. You're counting something. What are you counting? Okay. So, if it's 40, you have to understand that at this point, this entire side is 20, and this entire side is also 20. Because it's balanced, half and half. It also says that each inch of the crossbar weighs 1 ounce. So if I have 4 inches of crossbar here, then 4 ounces plus Big Kahuna there equals 20. That means Big Kahuna has to be 16. That also means that if this much is 4, all of this is 16. Right? Whole side is 20. 4 inches of crossbar, 4 ounces. Means, what can I do right here? I can take that 16 and I can cut it in half. So that means, that means this is how much? 8. That means medium kahuna plus 2 inches of crossbar, 2 ounces, is 8. So that means medium kahuna there has to be 6. That means this is also 8. That means 8, so equals 8. I have 2 inches of crossbar, another 2 inches of crossbar. So altogether we got 4 ounces of crossbar. And we have 2 equally balanced little kahunas. Subtract 4, divide by 2. If 8 ounces is the total, 4 of it is already taken up. That means these 2 little dudes add up to 4 ounces. They're both the same. 4 ounces divided by 2, each of these is 2 ounces. Who got it right? Got it all the way to the end. Okay. We might be a little rusty. Now maybe we're okay with the mechanics of solving equations. But in terms of application, in terms of solving, this is more logical reasoning combined with basic equations. But we lead off with this because that's what an equation is. It's a balance. It's like a teeter-totter. You all been on the old teeter-totter, seesaw, whatever you called it, regional dialect, right? If I put you two on one side of the teeter-totter, and I put you on the other side, and it balances. Maybe you have an adamantium skeleton or something. I don't know. Okay? Everything's great. What I do to one side of the teeter-totter, I must do to the other. Otherwise, it's not balanced anymore, right? You've all been the victim of the smash to the nethers. As you're just nicely la 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 la, and then someone jumps off, and you just wham down on the ground, like break your tailbone, right? Everyone's been there, unless you didn't have friends or a deprived childhood. I don't know. Maybe they outlawed those on playgrounds now because of OSHA. Maybe they're not safe enough. I don't know. But when I was growing up, everyone walked off the playground at recess with bruises. That's just how it worked. The idea is that an equals sign is an equation. An equation is a balance. This side is equivalent to that side. I'm not going to go all the way back through the old single-step equations. That's what algebra half was for. Multi-step equations. Before I do anything else, before I go moving things, what should I do first? Okay, most kids are going to say distribute. I'm going to come back and do this a different way. I say negative 27, 6y is 3y minus 9. Okay. Then what?
Add 27, subtract 3.
What if I wanted to subtract 6y and add 9? Both are good. Okay. So this is the famed two-sided variable and constant equation that you first saw in probably algebra half. The way that I always did this is like when I coach football. I would tell kids, I don't care if you screw up. Screw up going 100 miles an hour. I don't care if you hit the wrong guy, as long as you hit him good enough. I just want you moving. I just want you doing something. If you're not sure what to move, but you have simplified both sides of the equation, just move something. Just pick the one that's eyeballing you wrong and be like, nah, I don't like you. Move them. Just move something. How many of you say variables have to be on the left? I have to subtract 3y. I can't subtract 6y. It has to be that way. Some teachers are really particular about that. Some students are particular about that. I don't care. As long as it's balanced, you're good. Now, if I were to, now I can do this two things at a time. Some of you are probably okay with that. If I were to add 27 to both sides, I'm just going to do this one step at a time right now. Do you remember old school, like actually showing negative 27 plus 27 is 0? Showing that this doesn't change, this doesn't change. Equals, plus. Anyone remember actually showing all the steps like that? I ain't going to make you. But if it helps you, if there's ever something I did that you don't get, stop me and make me show it. Otherwise, I'm not going to. And then we do what's called, we always called it the who's lonely game. You always get the one kid who thinks they're original by going, me! Like, no. The who's lonely game. Who up here is all by themselves? You know why he's lonely? And I will say he. He's lonely because he's lazy. He's sitting in his mom's basement playing Fortnite. He's never going to get out and meet someone. Yeah, because he never grew up. He's still stuck back in 6th grade. Never matured. He's lonely because he's lazy. You need to bring the date to him. Would I subtract 18? No. he's lonely because he's lazy. He needs someone to get along with. And you said you're going to instead bring him a, well, no, not that reference. He's still going to be just as lonely if you bring him a artificial companion. Instead, you want to bring him another human being. Okay? You play the who's lonely game. And then finally, now that I'm down to a single term on both sides, if 3y's is equivalent to 18, it's smashed up on there, you divide both sides by 3. Now, that's if I was teaching algebra half. Y'all are probably good with doing a double dose at the same time. Minus 3y, minus 3y. Add 27, add 27. If I did that, could you follow it? Okay. What if I said you didn't have to distribute it first? Does anyone see what you can do? What do you think?
27 is a multiple of 3 and 6 2. We can do 3 times.
This is 3 times a thing. If it's 3 times a thing, couldn't I divide everything by 3 right now? Couldn't I divide this by 3? It's gone. Divide this by 3. Divide this by 3. So whether I distribute or I divide, I'm still on to the next step where I'm going to subtract y from both sides. I'm going to add 9 to both sides. Right? I still get the same thing. So, lesson number 2 of Sullivan's Room. Unless I explicitly tell you to do it a certain way, because there's a standard that I have to assess. Like, students will solve quadratics by multiple appropriate methods. I have to assess that you can solve by graphing, by factoring, by quadratic formula, by complete the square. I have to do all 4. Unless I have to assess by a very specific way, I don't care how you solve. I just care that you followed math law and you got there. Can you back it up? Can someone else follow your work? Okay? I will not make you go back and check things. If you're not going to check it, that's on you. It's a free answer, right? You know if you're right or wrong. Plug it back in and evaluate. Give it a go. Try. However you're going to do it. Are you going to distribute? Are you going to combine terms? Are you going to move something to the other side? You all passed Algebra 1. It's great, right? You just toss it in there, get the munchies. And remember, everything that we're doing here in class, you should have it written down in your notes because you're going to turn it in. I want to give you tiny homework assignments. Just a little bit of independent practice because I expect we did enough in class. Zoe, Allison, Eli, Jaden, Brooke, not Cody. Not Cody. Jacob? Yeah. Rylan, James, Harrison, Matthias, Calcer, Alexis, Chad, Bailey, Emily or Emma? Emily. Okay. All right. You stay where you're sitting. All right. Round one. I'm going to disturb her. Most people are going to say that. What's next? Okay. Use that appropriate vocabulary. We will combine like terms. And when I combine like terms, well, 6x minus 6x, bye-bye. So I get negative 11 is 11x, and then I divide and say x is negative 1. If I did it like that, without showing all the extra work, without writing off to the side what the step is, can you follow it? That's how the majority of our solution manual is. So if you're ever going through the solution manual and you're not sure what they did, there's also nothing wrong with taking a picture of the solutions and saying, how did they get from here, line 5 to line 6? Do that, okay? I appreciate those questions a lot more than how do I do 30? All right, cool. That looks pretty surreal when it's inverted. So flower carpets, pretty big deal in other countries that appreciate aesthetics instead of just a bunch of concrete bricks. Hundreds of thousands of brightly colored flowers. Grass, tree, bunch of pretty stuff. Yeah, whatever. Flower carpet is here. It's from Belgium. Has a perimeter of 200 meters. What are the dimensions of it? Can you all see in the picture there the 3x and the x? Okay. So that's a lot of stuff to say I have a rectangle that's 3x and x, and they said the perimeter is 200 meters. Okay? So, y'all remember how perimeter works? What it is? All the way around. Think a guard walking the perimeter. It even has in the word perimeter. I'm going around the rim. Okay? So all the way around. Well, how does that help me? Because I only see 2 numbers up there instead of 4. Put them on the other side. It's a rectangle. I know that opposite sides are congruent. So I could be very literal about this and just write x plus 3x plus x plus 3x. I could literally just walk my way around the perimeter and say that is equivalent to 200. Does anyone remember the formula for perimeter of a rectangle?
2 times.
No, keep going.
Well, like for this one, it'd be 2x times, well, like 6x. So it'd be like 2 times, 2 parentheses, top side. That's what I'm saying.
Perimeter is 2 of the lengths plus 2 of the widths, or is 2 length plus widths? Yep. Okay. We're going to find out a lot in this, y'all. They expect that you know geometry, forwards and backwards. We're randomly going to come across an application problem that says, how do I find the volume of this right pentagonal prism or pyramid? Y'all remember doing that? Y'all remember finding the height, the apothem, slant height? The only way that you can find the apothem is using trig functions by saying it's a regular pentagon. So that means a regular pentagon is going to have rotation of 360 degrees broken into 5 equal triangles, which is then broken in half. So that means this little triangle has 36-degree angle right here. So now I can use my trig ratios, good old SOHCAHTOA, to find out what the apothem is. This is Algebra 2. They're going to expect that you just remember this. That's not entirely fair. People forget things, especially as we have breaks, especially as we have a global pandemic. So if we ever run across something where you're like, yeah, I don't remember that, say so. Okay, if we gotta take a little side quest to remember stuff from back in the day, we will. But anyway, I combine all like terms. We got 8x is 200, divide, 50 a pop. No, 25. There you go, 25. Don't just say x is 25 because that didn't answer the question. Go back to the question. It asks what the dimensions are. The dimensions you have to list, the width and the height, or length and width. You say it is a 25 by 75 rectangle. Also, labels are important. 25 by 75 what? Meters. Okay. Random trivia for you. I remember when I was in elementary school. I remember we started the process in the United States to switch everything over to metric. We started. I remember for a short amount of time having the speed limit signs on the county roads at kilometers per hour. It only lasted a couple of months and then they switched it back because we're arrogant Americans and we decide that everything has to be our way. This was like 95 maybe. So it was a good chunk of time ago. I remember it happening. We were on the path to the light side and then... What?
Where did you grow up at?
Northeast North Dakota. Red River Valley, flat as a tabletop. No joke, I'd get up on top of a 30-foot grain bin and I could see every town in the county at night. I could see their lights. So, about an hour and a half from the border, which also meant that a lot of kids would head that way to go drinking at 18. Northeast corner, up by Grand Forks. Yep. So, in fact, Grand Forks is my old stomping grounds. Right here, you see that little thumb? Just like yesterday. We hit this page and I say, how are we doing so far? You say, I got it. I got this. I'm a little fuzzy. I'm looking at number 44 and thinking, I should probably do that to be safe. Or, I have no freaking clue what's going on. I want you all to be honest with it. Okay? We all good? Yeah, a little iffy. One more. Just be safe. Just one. Okay? I don't know. They both look about the same to me. Heads is 42. 42 it is. There you go. Let's try it. One more. Be careful with your signs. Be careful with your signs. Know what you're distributing. Hey, Eli, if those have a transparency mode on them, you can just keep them on all the time. Mine have a transparency where I just tap the side and I can hear everything outside.
Oh, it's just headphones. They're not like sound canceling.
Oh, okay. Like I switch between the modes between noise canceling and transparent. Yeah. Yep.
So when I'm playing it and then he wants to talk to me.
Oh, I could never do that. Those things like actually upset my stomach. I get motion sick with them. No way. Okay, be careful what you're distributing. Watch your signs. Combine like terms and clean both sides up before you move things.
Oh, I didn't see the 12. Okay. Make sure you leave the 6 up on next to it.
Yeah.
How do you know if you're right? Besides arguing with your neighbor. You can always plug it back into the original and see if it works, see if it's still balanced. I'm walking around for a reason. If something's a little sketchy, ask.
No, just because you have to have another one.
Oh, yeah. Plus 31 cancel. Plus 21. So that's 39. Plus 670.
I haven't seen Gushers in like 15 years. That is awesome.
Dawson gave it to me yesterday.
Yes. Okay. So, oh, you forgot your 12 out front.
Oh,
That's all. You just forgot part.
I'm like, this isn't adding up.
Okay, and then 12 there.
That'd be plus 3.
Or you can combine those two and turn this into a 9. There you go. Your process was right. You just forgot to write one of the numbers down. Sorry.
But you have to use cash for that. Unless the cards are written.
What's the point of getting a card?
Yeah.
Can I do this one
too? You can buy some for
If you want to, you go ahead. I'm not forcing it right now.
And then it's because I looked at the 12 and I thought it was the number of the and I was
Next time you wander down, like Spartan Time or something, I got a bunch of different visual stuff that I've done with kids before, where you're like blocking off problems with highlighter squares and stuff. It might help with that.
I take it back. What did you get, Matthias? Did you get a 10W?
Yes. And that sounds weird. Yeah, that's right.
Before I even write the first line, let's see if we all noticed this yet. Do you see when I make these little arrows where I start them? It's something so small, right? It's such a small little thing, but I'm starting it at the sign so I remember that it's a -3 and not a +3. And that tiny little trick might not be something that you've ever been explicitly told to do before, but in my experience, it just helps me keep things straight. It's helped other kids keep things straight. So we got 12 minus 6w minus 3 is 7w minus 21 minus 3w. Then I heard people say the magic words enough times. Big kid vocabulary. I distribute. Then I combine like terms. It's kind of like if you're going to move the furniture around. Who in here is that kid that has to rearrange your room like every 9 months or so? Right? I was that kid too. You're not going to move things around until you clean it up. Because it's really hard to move your bed when there's a bunch of random crap underneath it. So I'm going to clean this up before moving things. Okay? Then we'll start moving things around. I'll subtract 4w from both sides. Which means this one's gone. 21's going to be lonely. I'll bring him a date. Okay, gone, gone. Negative 10w is negative 30. Divide. W's 3. Okay. So some kids couldn't give a rat's less. They don't care. But other kids, if I switch in between colors like this for the different steps and processes, like that's just the jam. Why couldn't the world look like this? Because then I'm able to differentiate things. If I ever am doing something up here and you can't tell what goes where, stop me. Ask the question. Because if you got the question, I guarantee you someone else in the room has it too. All right. You know what? I want to do 26 because it's one of these basic equations, but sometimes we got trouble turning words into math. 26, argue it out. Let me see how far we're getting here. Through 14. Okay. Oh yeah, we got time. Yes? Mm-hmm.
How do I start solving this? I tried distributing, and then I get stuck where, yeah, I can't subtract. I don't know. I keep getting stuck on this one, though, and I don't know what I'm doing.
There's a trick to factoring with it, and we'll get there.
No, yeah, it definitely does.
This is the classic algebra problem.
Until you get in the same hit. Oh my god, that's so simple.
Yeah.
Just think about it. If one goes 55 miles, one goes 45, they
They're
go
90.
100 miles.
Yeah.
Can you write it as an equation?
I
When I wrote it
tried.
out, it came out as 40 hours long.
That's just creepy, dude. Don't do that.
Am I on the right track right here writing it out or no?
Think about it mentally, yeah, it's easy.
But how do you turn it into mathese? Okay. So I'm hearing, well, if you just think about it, 55 miles that way, 45 miles this way, that's 100 miles. 100 miles in an hour. Do 100 miles times x equals 400. Like, divide it 400 by 100. It's 4 hours. I want to go back through that verbal description and let's turn it in here. 55 miles that way and 45 miles that way. What operation is that? 55 miles times however many hours and 45 miles times however many hours, and I'm going to add them together. When is that? When hours is that 400 miles? 100 times h is 400, divide h is 4 after 4 hours. And it sounds just super simple once you see that. But we have to be able to take our words and turn them into the math. Because if we can't do it with the simple stuff like that, where you say, well, duh, just think about it, how are we going to do it when it gets more complicated? Okay, next up, equations with no solution versus identities. You saw this back in Algebra Half. I do all the work right, I do all the math correctly, and there's no answer, or everything is an answer. Okay. First up, I see a bunch of stuff on both sides of an equation. What should I do before I go moving things around? Okay. Call that 3x plus 4 is 3x plus 5. What next?
Move something.
Move something. Okay. You say subtract 4. Okay. 3x equals 3x plus 1. Who's lonely? 3x all by himself. Subtract 3x from both sides, but then you get 0 equals 1. Is that a true statement? So I want you to remember this. If I ever get a number equal to not that number, this is called no solution. You may also see it written as the empty set, the little no Ghostbusters logo. Okay? If you ever get a number equal to not itself, now this is 0 equals 1. Could I have subtracted 3x right here? I still got a number equals not itself. So it's still no solution. Whenever a number equals not itself, no solution. That means you did the math right, but no matter what, nothing will make this equation true. No number will make it balance. Same thing. I clean up both sides. Got 4x plus 5 equal to 4x plus 5. Hey, Rylan, what's your name? Rylan, what's your name?
Rylan?
It's almost like that's his identity. 4x plus 5 is 4x plus 5. Is that true? Yes. I could keep going. I could subtract 5 from both sides. Does 4x equal 4x? Could I divide both sides by 4? Or maybe instead, I subtracted 4x from both sides. Does 5 equal 5? Is that a true statement? Could I subtract 5 from both sides? Yes. All of these things are true. Whenever you get something equals itself. This is said multiple ways. You can call it the identity. I mean, makes sense, right? Identity. It is itself. But also, you've heard this called all real numbers. All real numbers. That means I can pick any number I want, put it in for x, and it's going to make this true. Yes?
So when would it be sometimes?
All right. The directions of this asked, when is the equation always, sometimes, or never true? Well, if every number works, it's always true. If no number works, it's never true. Sometimes is when there is something that makes it true, and there's also stuff that makes it not true, like x is 5. If I solve it and I get an answer. If I solve it and get x equals -2. Well, when x is -2, it's true. When x is anything else, it's not true. So that would be a sometimes true statement. Okay? Also, you're going to see mathematicians are notoriously lazy. I'm probably going to write all real numbers like this. An upside down A means for all, which is ironic because then when you put it in a circle, it means anarchy. And then the real number set is like a double vision R. So I'm probably going to write all real numbers like that for these types of problems. Just so you know, I'm not just making stuff up. Okay, so I would say I would do all the work and I would get no solution, never true. Do all the work, get all real numbers, always true. Your turn. Are you?
Yeah. Hey, boys, let's go. 7 let's go. Hey, combine like terms.
Could I just grab my binder for my left?
Yeah. No, you got done what you need to get done. Go.
This is gonna be never.
I do not have water in here. You just go get a drink.
It's gonna be true.
I mean, I wouldn't trust water fountains in a public place, but eh.
Not right. No.
Hey, we don't have to go overboard on them. If that's all you had, I would take it. First one, I combine like terms, subtract 3x from both sides, and I get 6 is not 4. So, no solution. It is never true. Part B, I distribute on both sides, combine like terms. I can keep going after that, but 5x minus 12 is 5x minus 12. Bobby is Bobby. Okay, so there it is. It's an identity. So it is, oh, I didn't write it, always true. So you can write all real numbers or identity. It is always true. Show me some thumbs, how we feel about that so far. Okay, 56. Oh, these are literal equations. This slide is on the wrong page. We'll come back to this. Okay, there we go, literal equations. A literal equation is one that can't be solved for a numerical value. Means you're going to do all the math right, and you're not going to get a number. You're going to get an expression. This is literally literal. This is literally just moving the furniture around. I'm going to get h equals bleh. This is how you make formulas. Okay, you probably remember rearranging stuff to make formulas an awful lot back in physical science, right? Those are literal equations. The most common one, I left it all there, is, because this is an example that I do week 1 in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. I usually am the only guy who knows what the Canadians in our play group are talking about when they say, dude, it's like 40 degrees outside. I am going to die. Well, okay, let's rearrange this. Now take 9/5 times 40. Go ahead, you got a calculator. You should have a calculator. Take 9/5 times 40 plus 32. It's 104 degrees out. Canadians are not used to this weather. Okay? He has every right to be complaining right now. No. But when one of the guys that I play webcam commander with on a regular basis up in British Columbia says it's 104, he is literally melting. And on top of that, their infrastructure isn't used to that type of heat. The air conditioning in the entire apartment building fell down. Ruh-roh. Oh no, legit. They were like cooking eggs on car hoods and yes. I lived in Flagstaff. Now Flagstaff is 7,000 feet elevation, so the climate is very similar to Spearfish. Like we had snow every year, like feet, mountains of snow. But you drive 2 hours south into Phoenix and Mesa, that is the devil's armpit. It is disgusting. But anyway, a literal equation is when you take this and say, I'm not trying to get x equals a number. I'm just trying to rearrange and get f by itself. So the first thing they do, if it's multiplying by 5/9, I'll divide by 5/9, which is, remember, dividing by fractions is easy as pie. And if I'm going through how to do the thing, you probably shouldn't be going through something else on your phone. Just saying. I'll treat you like an adult till you show me I can't. You divide by the 5/9, same as multiplying by 9/5. Subtract the 32. Well, I'll undo that by adding 32. I hear those are expensive. Be careful. Now you have it rearranged. I also don't do seating charts unless I am shown that I should. So I don't like this one because it's just subtract the 273 over. It doesn't matter. Y'all know the difference between Fahrenheit, Celsius, Kelvin?
Yeah.
Okay. Fahrenheit is one of those random old imperial system. The English just picked random numbers out and said, here, I'm going to use this. Whereas Celsius is specifically built on freezing and boiling point of water. What's Kelvin built on? What is 0 Kelvin? Really, really cold. 0 Kelvin is absolute zero. There is no temperature. There is no movement of molecules. And it takes a very, very controlled scientific environment to even get close to it. So I'm not going to bother with this. I just want you to, like, okay, I get it. I'm going to move things around. All right. Instead, we're going to come over here and actually practice them. Solve for G, meaning you get just G by itself. Who's got to go away? The half and the T squared. You notice they're all smashed together? What are they all doing? All three of them are multiplying, getting a little menage a trois over here. Okay? So let's get G out of there and say this isn't the life you want. And instead, I'll divide both sides by T squared over 2. Right? If I divide by it, it's gone. If I divide by it, it's gone. Dividing by fractions is easy as pie. So I'm going to take that s and multiply it by 2 over t squared. G is 2s over t squared. Okay? Divide by t squared, so it goes to the denominator. Dividing by half is the same as multiplying by 2. Multiply the other side by 2. Okay. You're just moving things around. That's it. Making some formulas. This one should look familiar. Where have we seen this? What is it? Not a sphere. Okay. It is a something with a cylinder. It is the surface area. Pi r squared is the area of a circle. 2 pi r squareds would be the circle on top and bottom. 2 pi r h is the circumference, okay, times the height. 2 pi r is circumference. Perimeter times height of that rectangle if you were to cut that can open. I want h by itself. Who's got to go away? This is an entirely separate term. I can just subtract it over. I still want h by itself, though. The 2, the pi, and the r got to go away. They're hugged up on h. They're multiplying. I want to divide to undo that. So I can just leave this as s minus 2 pi r squared all over 2 pi r. Kind of. Right now, if you were to say, well, can't I just cancel the pi's? You just killed a puppy. Don't do that. That's mean. Okay? That is mathematical homicide. Don't do that. Because what is over 2 pi r? An s and a 2 pi r squared. Two things are over it. technically what's happening here, this is s over 2 pi r minus 2 pi r squared over 2 pi r. They're both over it. I can't, okay, math is communist. What you do for one, you do for all. I can't get rid of a 2 unless I can get a 2 from everything. I can't get a pi unless there's a pi from everything. But when I split them, now here, I can leave that as is, and I can cancel, 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 cancel. What does this term now look like? Just r. S over 2 pi r minus r. So this or this are both correct. They're both correct. They are literally both equally correct. Neither of them is considered more simplified than the other. Okay? So, I would like you to, with our remaining 90 seconds, take care of this one. Get it? Well, actually, now it's a minute, but actually do this.
Divide by 1/2, which is the same.
There you go. There you
Oh,
go.
wait, it's 2b over.
Yep.
2b over s.
You subtracted, and then you divide. What I would do, instead of leaving a fraction on denominator like that, I would put a 2 up top.
Okay, I got 2b minus s equals 1.
You don't need the 1 because you have an s there as a placeholder.
2b minus s.
I got v minus s squared, and then I'll have to divide by these. So I'll either throw a 2 in front of the whole works and then over s. Remember, 2 times the entire thing, not just part of it. Yet again, I'll send it out on Remind. It's on Plan Book 2. Have a good weekend. Don't get arrested.
Yeah.